I would prefer the American experiment doesn't die because I'm immigrating here, so that would suck. You can be smug and still correct. You're the one clearly biased. Debate is literally smug. Oh, it's a brief one. Okay, let's go.
Good afternoon. Last night, I spoke with Donald Trump.
Fact is, you're asking.
I'm sincerely grateful that he's doing well and recovering, and we had a short but good conversation. Jill and I are keeping him and his family in our prayers. We also extend our deepest condolences to the family of the victim who was killed. He was a father. He was protecting his family from the bullets that were being fired, and he lost his life. God love him. We're also praying for the full recovery of those who were injured. And we're grateful to the Secret Service agents and other law enforcement agencies and individuals who risked their lives literally for our nation. As I said last night, there is no place in America for this kind of violence or any violence for that matter. An assassination attempt is contrary to everything we stand for as a nation, everything. It's not who we are as a nation. It's not America. And we cannot allow this to happen. Unity is the most elusive goal of all, but nothing is important than that right now, unity. We'll debate and we'll disagree. That's not going to change, but we're going to not lose sight, in fact, who we are as Americans. Look, Vice President Harris and I were just briefed in the Situation Room by my Homeland Security team, including the Director of the FBI, the Secretary of Homeland Security, the Attorney General, the Director of the Secret Service, my Homeland Security Advisor, the National Security Advisor, and we're going to continue to be briefed. The FBI is leading this investigation, which is still in its early stages. We don't yet have any information about the motive of the shooter. We know who he is. I urge everyone, please, don't make assumptions about his motives or his affiliations. Let the FBI do their job and their partner agencies do their job.
It's an exercise ball.
I'm instructed that this investigation be thorough and swift, and the investigators will have every resource they need to get this done. Look, as this investigation continues, here's what we're going to do. First, Mr. Trump, as a former president and nominee of the Republican Party, already receives a heightened level of security. And I've been consistent in my direction to the Secret Service to provide him with every resource, capability, and protective measure necessary to ensure his continued safety. Second, I've directed the head of the Secret Service to review all security measures for the Republican National Convention, which is scheduled to start tomorrow. And third, I've directed an independent review of the national security at yesterday's rally to assess exactly what happened. And we'll share the results of that independent review with the American people as well. And finally, I'll be speaking more about this tonight at greater length from the Oval Office. We must unite as one nation. We must unite as one nation to demonstrate who we are. And so may God bless you all, and may God protect our troops.
Damn. Trump almost gets shot, and Biden is like, hold on. I'm awake now. That took way too long to sit up. I am here now. And you're like, could you have been here at the presidential debate, buddy? I might vote for him after that speech. And you better. You know who would be interesting to see the response with? The majority report has got to have responded to this already, right? Oh, they haven't even covered it yet. Oh no, they're behind. What are they doing? Ain't no way. Okay, well, I'm sure David's got some shit up. Oh no, okay. 1 hour ago, okay.
I alluded a couple of days ago to wanting to talk about why hasn't Trump been called on to step down. I don't know what should happen with Joe Biden, but he says he's not dropping out. And as we just looked at, prominent Democrats are saying we're behind Joe Biden. The one guy who absolutely should be gone by now is Donald Trump. The difference is, on the Republican side, they could not care less what Trump has done, what's going on with Trump cognitively,
Oh, no. They pre-scheduled this. That did not age well. Damn, that's so sucky. You know who should be gone now? Trump. Look, David, if we hadn't already found the shooter. I'm just kidding. As
long as they defeat Democrats, they don't really care anything about their nominee because they have absolutely no standards. You know, you have all these newspapers and op-eds saying Biden should drop out after the debate. Most of those newspaper op-eds didn't say Trump should drop out after being convicted on 34 felony counts. They didn't say Trump should drop out after being found civilly liable for sexual assault, which meets the New York definition for rape. They didn't say he shouldn't.
And I'm not actually mocking. Like, it's a very, very, very reasonable error to make. It's just like a big post that was you can't plan for somebody to have an assassination attempt, you know?
Even be a candidate.
He is so smug and full of himself. Debate, I'm pretty sure you just think that anyone that you disagree with who speaks decently well is smug. And so, just so it's clear, that's your stuff. That's like the biggest self-report I've ever heard. If you just think that other people who speak well and say other ideas than what you have are smug, just means you're insecure. I don't know why you'd feel just anyone who speaks well is smug.
After he incited a riot on January 6, 2021, you know, Trump believes the Constitution is fine until, for his benefit, parts or all of it should be suspended. That should be immediately disqualifying. It should instantly lead to calls from every major newspaper and media outlet that Donald Trump step down. And most of them have not. So we have to accept that 40% of the country is okay. I mean, listen, it's not only that they're okay with what Trump is outlining, they want it. You go to Trump rallies where you hear Trump supporters say, I'd rather a dictator Trump than a democratically elected Biden.
True.
I thought you supported the Constitution. I thought you supported due process and law and order. And no, they support whatever's convenient for them. And so one of the concerns I have in general right now with the lack of focus on Trump's disastrous debate performance and the obvious reality that it is Trump who should step down is that it's a dynamic that perpetuates itself. Because you have, the best analogy I could think of is people are acting as though we have a properly refereed boxing match. But there's a candidate who took a knife out and stabbed his opponent. But some of us keep pretending that we have a properly refereed boxing match here. And so we're saying, well, you know, Biden's performance wasn't so good. And what about replacement? Or, as I said before, I don't know strategically.
And Pacman was talking down to the guy. Just so you realize it's fully reasonable to talk down to people some of the time. It's not that big of a deal. I don't even know what you're saying right now. I'm not surprised he was talking down to that guy. That guy called in constantly, was kind of crazy, and wouldn't stop, was never, ever willing to even conceive of changing his mind. You're just allowed to be condescending some of the time. You can be smug and still correct. You're the one clearly biased. Debate is literally smug. I have watched it googly eyes. He is decently smug multiple times to the guy, which is fair enough. You're allowed to be mean to people that you don't like. I don't know why all of you guys are like kindergartners in the playground being like, but he was being a big meanie. It's like, okay, fair enough. I don't really care. I thought we were at the big boy table. Out of the big boy table, you can take it, you know? Maybe not. Maybe no meanies in the house. Sorry, if that's the safe space that you need to discuss ideas, that's totally fine. But I thought we were at the big boy table. And I thought we were a little rough and tumble here, but maybe that's just me. Maybe it's the farm girl coming out or something.
All I care about is strategically. I don't know strategically whether keeping Biden or replacing Biden gives us a better shot at defeating Trump. Replacing is chaotic. Keeping maybe is a problem. We'll talk to Alan Lichtman later today about it. But what we can't keep doing is analyzing Biden one way when the entire Republican and MAGA apparatus around Trump has zero standards. Because if they had even an iota of standards, they would have all already called for him to drop out, as opposed to just, you know, the occasional Republican who has no campaigns left to run like Mitt Romney, who's willing to say, hey, this is not for me. This isn't good for the Republican Party. So we do need to, in some sense, shift the focus back to Trump's disastrous debate performance, the disaster that is Trump as a candidate and nominee, the criminality, the scofflaw nature of everything that he's done in public life for the last 40 years. It's not the only thing that must be done. You've got to run a good campaign. You need to be united behind your candidate, all of these other things. But if we want a direct path here to disaster, it's failing to point out, hey, does Biden... By the way, it seems the story was completely...
He just said he was in fact smug. Yeah, but I said, he's just, like, he said smug in like this Broadway. I don't like him, he's smug. And then I was like, I feel like he's not smug all that time. And he's like, well, this one time he was smug. I'm like, that doesn't establish him as like his default is smug. Maybe Backman's default is smug. I don't know.
Baseless. Biden's early stage Parkinson's. Yeah, who cares? The opponent's Trump. So what? Biden early stage Parkinson's, he can still be president. That doesn't make a difference.
Hey, but if you show me like a couple of other debates where the person
that
he's debating is being like reasonable and good faith and he's still being smug, then you know what? You get it. You get to take the cake. He is smug, but I need to see that.
Got the civilly liable rapist convicted felon who wants to suspend the Constitution when it's inconvenient to him. I'll stick with Biden. We've got to make that contrast. Now, after the break, we're going to try to do that.
This must have been from like yesterday before the shooting. Oh, damn.
Biden's a Catholic. What are you talking about? He's Catholic.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah.
What is that? What you just saw there
Luke Beasley just made his career. Holy
was
shit.
a little bit of footage. I'll play more of it for you later after I fill you in on the context. That's from the Butler, Pennsylvania rally. We just got back. It's 2 a.m. as of when I'm recording this, and I just want to give you sort of just a live reaction to what we, meaning myself and my team, but also we as a country, just experienced. So we were at the rally, and as you all know, I often go to being there, and then that led to us observing just an absolutely horrific event, and you'll see the initial confusion and then crowd just running away, and all of it we were rolling for because we were in the middle of an interview. So we will look
crazy.
at that. But without getting into a whole sort of news report, I'm sure you're getting that everywhere else about all the details. I do want to go through a few key bullet points. First and foremost, a member of the audience has died, which is absolutely horrific. And then 2 members of the audience have been injured. Trump himself injured, but okay. And I said in initially posting on X responding to this, I honestly can't believe this needs to be said, but apparently it does for some people, regardless of our feelings, political views relating to Trump. It is obviously insane to have any other thought about this other than political violence like this is unacceptable and horrific. And that is what I want to be seeing
about destiny
out there from everyone, regardless of political views. Now, the good note is that Democratic leaders, Democratic people of influence, have been just fully denouncing President Biden. Has talked to former President Trump and completely denounced violence, which is exactly what we should expect, but also what he and the other Democratic leaders have been doing.
There's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick. It's one of the reasons why we have to unite this country. We cannot allow for this to be happening. We cannot be like this. We cannot condone this.
More what I'm thinking of is just random people online. Crazy to see that sort of stuff, and that connects to, and again, I'm just going to sort of, before playing the video, just throw a bunch of stuff at you and then we'll get to it. Not super planned here, but instead an initial response. I also really don't like that people are jumping so quickly to conspiracy theories. And that honestly comes from both ends. We're hearing this, it was staged from what you would call people on the left, and that is worthy of denunciation. And then you also have MAGA folks saying Biden's doing this or to blame for it or something. That's also wrong. And I think it's pretty simple in terms of how we should be responding, what is right in a response. And that is that this sort of violence is unacceptable, un-American, and not in the interest of democracy, right? People should be able to go to political events, even if we disagree with the event they're going to.
I hate this argument, the AK-47 argument. So just to be clear, while I can be empathetic towards conservatives about the way that they've been like treated publicly, I can just fully sympathize with that. The argument can't be, oh, I have no way to lost 7 years. Which is why we had to, just support the undoing of a constitution. What? Like, what? What else did they expect? It's like, what we expect is for everyone to play the game appropriately. We expect the conduct that Hamilton set out for us, which is that, like, good people and good men should be in power and in office. And I agree that that's not the Democrats and that's not the Republicans. If you think that Trump is a good man, he's a narcissistic snake who will do anything to just assert more power for himself. This is why he has one of the most unreliable track records. You cannot actually predict how Trump will vote on various things because the reality is that he's self-serving. He just kind of does whatever he wants to do. That's why he struck down certain, not struck down. He supported certain gun control amendments, multiple of them, but then also pulled out of the TPP, which is basically the only thing you would do if you just really love China's cock. There's not really a good reason to drop out of the TPP. But the problem is that you can't predict where Trump is going to go, right? Biden, on the other hand, seems to probably, quite likely, be a bit of a shell of a president, right? I'm not really sure that he's all there. Maybe he is. Maybe he's still able to make good decisionary. But his cabinet, and I'm going to give him the credit of himself because he selected his cabinet, have been excellent. They have made excellent foreign policy, excellent domestic policy. There are not many things that Biden has done in his presidency where I'm like, ooh, yikes, that was a big whoa. Right? He's got the longest track record of bipartisan bills that he's tried to pass, both in and before his presidency. He's kind of awesome. Whereas Trump is just kind of a wild case. And so it's like, if you're like, oh, I hate the, institution, it's all broken and bad. Yeah, that's all of them. That's not just Trump. Just to be super fucking clear. And if you want that to be changed, you have to vote in your primaries. That's your responsibility as a citizen of America. That's what it is. I am not convinced, though, that Trump loves America. Trump loves himself. And that's spooky because the president is supposed to be a unifying face, which, to be clear, Biden has failed that in the last 44 years as well. One thing I am very, very, very critical of Biden is the way that he has handled talking about MAGA Trumpers from the very beginning of his inauguration. I think he's been inflaming the culture war as it is to just solidify his own base, which I think is not what you do if you love your country. But to be clear, Trump is worse in my mind. Just so we're super clear. So I don't know. Okay, I don't know where I was going with that, but there you go. Oh yeah, AK-47 are just being like, what else did you expect? It's both everybody needs to take responsibility for the fact that their system is falling and that it's not working anywhere. It's a tragedy. It sucks. It's not good. I would prefer the American experiment doesn't die because I'm immigrating here, so that would suck. But unfortunately, it's on you guys to do that.
And be able to feel safe in that situation. And that's not what tonight represented. And that is really, really sad for the entire country. It is a reminder of something a lot of people have been talking about.
How come Democrats don't have a younger generation of talent? They do. But the young people don't vote in primaries because they don't vote at all. And if they do vote, it's definitely not in primaries. And the main way that you create within party change is through primary voting. And young people do not vote in primaries. They don't vote in general election. They definitely don't vote in primaries. Who votes in primaries? Old fucks who just keep voting in actual corpses that are walking around. So it's it's frustrating, but also do your civil responsibility. I don't know. It's not that hard. Just do it. Just one day. Just one thing. Once, twice, I suppose. Well, depending on how many elections you are responsible to participate in. And I would argue that not all students are responsible for the municipal voting just because they're not very tied to the municipality that they live within. But you need to vote for your state. You just have to. In primaries.
Just how escalated things have become. And I do think...
How do we get younger people to vote? It feels hopeless sometimes. Incentivization structures probably would be valuable if we found interesting, fun ways to reinforce citizen responsibilities and duties. I don't know, something like that. That is the Ayn Rand question. Is it Ayn Rand or is it Hannah Arendt, who basically is young people don't vote, and then people are like, well, how do you fix that, Hannah? And she's like, if we could figure that one out.
And I don't have a great answer for how we...
Did the TPP hurt low-income families? Not really. Unions didn't like it because what it mostly allowed is for lower-wage unionized workers in the Philippines and Taiwan to compete for outsourced labor. So unions didn't like it because essentially some of their jobs would get replaced by other unionized jobs that are still fundamentally cheaper. That's why unions didn't like it. But unions isn't just like poor people, although to be fair, most economic policies in general seem to have like a disproportionate impact on the poor just because their margins of like error and problem are just so much more narrow.
Exactly do this.
That's my speculation, to be clear. I could be wrong about that.
But we need to figure out as a country how to bring the temperature down. Easier said than done, of course. All the factors that have gone into getting us here, hard to just fix that. But that's something that's really hitting me as well. As far as the experience there, total, just instant panic for myself and the two members of my team who were there. We were mostly confused initially. Is that a firecracker? What's going on? And then I was certain it was mass shooting. I don't know what that says about where my head's at. Just lots of those stories. And it didn't even occur to myself. And then in reflecting with Jane and Cole, similarly, they were not even thinking, oh, it could be assassination attempt. And in my mind, an event like this, because of Secret Service and how much presence you observe in these events of Secret Service, everywhere on all the buildings and all that, I didn't consider that as a possibility until way later and was thinking it was mass shooting. And so you'll see in the footage, I think a lot of people had that same thought, that they were in danger as well, running, just a huge crowd of people running away from the shots. Understandable reaction for sure. And then we got more information and learned what it was, but absolutely horrible and terrifying stuff. And to be clear, we were far enough away where we didn't feel our safety was necessarily at risk or that we were in an unsafe situation. The feelings and thoughts I want you all to be expressing is not for us, but those who have been a person who's been killed and then those who've been injured as well. That's where our heads are at. But observing that fear across the crowd, and then we did run away, was something for sure. With that being said, I'm sure I missed things. We'll talk much more about this, but here is just a few moments from what we captured. Why is the camera? What are you talking about? What is that? All right, we are in, where are we? Butler, Pennsylvania, at a Trump rally, and everyone's running away.
Just so you know, AK-47, I'm going to think about that. You might be right. I need to look a lot more into the 2016 election and stuff like that, because my American history from like 2008 to 2016 is not as good. But I'll think about that. Like, genuinely, I'll think about that. All they did is elect a guy. I would need to think about if that's all the right had done, or like I'm giving the benefit of the doubt to the left, obviously, but I'm assuming that there's some sort of incendiary factor for why the left was so concerned about Trump specifically, beyond just like, he's like the next elect.
Because we think we just heard gunshots. As you can see, everyone's running away there.
Krieger, you can time out.
We have no idea what's happening right now.
We don't have comments like that in my chat.
He said he comes here. No, guys, he comes here. Why are you shooting? I don't know what happened. No. Assassination come on, they're shooting. 3 gunshots. Hey, come on!
So what people are saying, we have not confirmed it.
You know what's really interesting about like people panicking and stuff as they're leaving? Is like, what is the thing that most of these people are doing, including like Republicans too? Luke Beasley, who's a very agitative anti-Republican speaker. They're all going around just informing one another to try to keep each other safe and like spreading information as quickly as possible. Like fundamentally, what are most people doing in a moment of crisis, whether they're left or right, is banding together and trying to protect other people. Which I feel like is something that everyone needs to remember. That like when this happened, what happened? A lot of Republicans tried to protect each other. A lot of Republicans tried to protect anybody else there and wanted nobody to die.
Yeah, but is that Trump was shot in the ear? We're still waiting to get more information.
Damn, that's crazy that he was at the Trump rally. Let's not forget how Trump responded to Pelosi's 80-year-old husband, blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, you're right, Trump's f***ed up and kind of evil and a bad person. And that doesn't mean that we participate in it. Especially if you think your side is more right, then you don't get to participate in that stuff. Okay, this lady is not, sorry, This lady is not trying to get clout. She said, go that way. Go that way. She's trying to get him to move away from it. The president's blah, 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 blah. The president has been shot at, whatever, right? She's not like looking at the camera and being like, I want to be famous. She's just notifying him for his safety.
He's here. Go that way. He's here. Try to shoot. Y'all know what happened? No. Assassination come out there. They're shooting. 3 gunshots. Hey, come on.
And it's like, okay, maybe that guy was trying for clout. Why the f didn't he stay with them then the rest of the time?
So what people are saying, we have not confirmed this yet, but is that Trump was shot in the ear. We're still waiting to get more information.
In fact, the only thing that's actually happening is Luke is walking around and like getting his content still. Like that's about it. But then he turns it off, right? I'm not actually gonna like shit on Luke because I don't actually think that that's like the end of the world. I just think you should try to be less doomer about people. Not good. Don't assume the worst. That just says more about you than the world. 45. All right, we'll keep this up. Did you guys hear Brian Tyler Cohen, I think, got a contract with MSNBC? It's crazy. Urban media is about clout, but in this case, in my opinion, it was a genuine reaction. Absolutely. Absolutely. And everyone in media is absolutely thinking about clout to an extent. The problem is that, like, people can have multiple incentives driving them, right? Like, it is possible people are concerned for each other's health and want clout. Although, to be clear, any of the people that appeared on camera, I do not believe were looking for clout. None of them shouted out their name. None of them introduced themselves. None of them tried to get in the camera's way. Like, yeah, that's an insanely bad read. What did she say? President Trump is on his way to Milwaukee right now. Protect Trump at all costs. Anybody notice the upgrade in his motorcade today? This is how it should be. God, can I just say, people shitting on the Secret Service are the dumbest motherfuckers on the planet, okay? I don't know dick balls about Secret Service, how any of it works, but to assume that they just sucked at their job when more likely, first of all, wasn't there an assassination attempt on Trump in like 2016? But the Secret Service caught it immediately and shut it down? My suspicion is that when the Secret Service does a good job, they do it all the fucking time, they stop threats all the fucking time, and we never hear about it because they're doing their job, right? Errors can occur. I don't know if what happened is even considered an error. I have no idea. But I am so tired of people who know nothing about violence or being a cop or securing a perimeter or any of this shit being like, man, we should really fire the Secret Service head. First of all, the only person who could have possibly fucked up is probably the counter sniper because it looks like he sees something, takes his head up and looks again and then shoots, right? Which is like, if you thought you saw somebody shooting, you should probably be firing, right? Question mark? Right? Which is definitely not the head's fault. It's just so annoying, okay? So annoying. The Secret Service are fundamentally should be respected and treated as heroes, just like military people, except more than that, okay? Because they're uber trained and they actively put their life on the line for the presidents constantly, okay? Why know things when you can speculate? But so many people going off about how the Secret Service failed their job are making me want to bash my head in because there's no shot any of these people have any idea whether the Secret Service failed their job or not, okay? All I want is for the Secret Service to come out and let us know, okay? Holy.
Editor here. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe and consider joining as a member for only a few dollars a month. We will be releasing videos covering topics from the private and personal to the public and political. So join notsoErudite today on her live-streamed Look on Life.